Now we're going to add an optional parameter to specify how many decimal places we actually want to appear or be rounded to when we use our kilograms, pounds to kilograms conversion tool that we just created. So let's go back to VBA and I'll show you how to add an optional parameter. So by default, anything you put in a comma, any of these parameters in your function are required unless you use the word optional and then put the variable name. So we're going to put optional D places for decimal places, okay? And I'll just leave it as that. So now it's allowed to have this variable, it's allowed to not have this variable. It's okay either way. So now we're going to go ahead and put the information that we wanted here. So decimal places is optional. We'll leave this is the normal part of the function that we're going to leave in there. So here's how to find out if your optional variables or parameters in your function are missing or not. So there's a function called isMissing, and we're going to run that one to see if D places is blank or not. So if isMissing in open parentheses, and we'll say isMissing D places, then so if they didn't put a decimal place, we're actually just going to use the default kgrams. The final answer equals pounds times this. Otherwise, so if it's not missing, then we're going to round to that. So otherwise, kgrams equals, and then we're going to use the round function. So we're going to round LBS times 0.453592. Comma, and how many decimal places? Well, we have a variable for that. It's called D places. End if. So now we have a function that's going to go either way. So either you can have as many decimal places to use the round function to that many decimal places, or you just take the basic function. So right now we have no optional parameters in there. So if I go ahead and just, you know, it is what it is. But if I put I want to round whatever's to the right of me one cell, comma, and I want to round it to the third decimal place. So if I click it now, it uses the else, wherein it uses the round function to the third decimal place. So if I copy that down, you see that we now have 3 decimal places. And I can, of course, use the optional parameter to get you know, 1 decimal place if I want. And I'll copy that down. So now I have a really cool function to get pounds to kilograms and optionally put as many decimal places as I want. Of course, if that optional decimal place is missing, it will just take the default. You could also, if you wanted to strategize and you wanted to have your formula default, if it's missing that other parameter, then you wanted it to always be rounded to the second decimal unless specified otherwise, then you could use the round function comma 2 as your default, which would be right here. You could use that equals round comma 2, and then if they have a specific number of decimal places, then they can use that optional one. So if I didn't put the word optional in here, or if I didn't use the isMissing function and I left it out, it would give me an error. It would say, hey, you don't have all the parameters that you need. And that's the basics on creating a user-defined function, also called UDF, or we also just call them a custom function in Excel VBA. Very powerful, and we'll try to dig in a little deeper based on your questions in the forum.